The Seattle Seahawks are coming off a season where they completely overcame everybody's expectations, and Geno Smith showed the world why he can actually still be a franchise quarterback in this league. Last season, the Seahawks finished with a record of 9-8 and lost in the wildcard round. However, this was an amazing sign that Pete Carroll and the front office of the Seahawks didn't have to completely go into a rebuild, and they could actually just retool this offseason, which is exactly what they did. In this video, I'll be breaking down everything that the Seattle Seahawks have done this offseason, but more importantly, what they need to do next in order to shock the world next season and potentially make some noise in the playoffs. However, before we jump into the video, make sure you guys smash that like button. It helps out the channel so much. So let's see if we can get the video to 400 likes. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I will be covering the Seahawks and the rest of the NFL all year long, so join the family. And one last thing, comment down below, who do you believe is the most underrated player on the Seahawks team right now? But without any further ado, let's jump right into today's video. Okay, so before we take a deep dive into every signing the Seahawks have made, let's real quickly take a look back at 2022 and see where the Seahawks ranked compared to the rest of the NFL, just so we can get a better understanding of where they needed to improve the most coming into this offseason. Now, offensively, the Seahawks were very solid last year, and with that being said, they were still going to need to improve some areas going into next season, obviously. Now, overall, they ranked number 10 in points per game, number 13 in yards per game, number 20 in third down conversion percentage, number 27 in red zone scoring percentage, and number 11 in touchdowns scored per game. Obviously, a lot of areas that need to improve on just by looking at those numbers alone. However, let's take a deeper look at where most of their problems stemmed from. Now, in the rushing attack, Seattle really struggled to stay consistent, but at times they showed flashes of becoming a pretty dominant running attack team. Ranking number 8 in rush yards per attempt, which is, some of the best in the league, but then their other numbers kind of go down a bit, which kind of confuses you, but they rank number 22 in rush attempts per game, number 18 in rush yards per game, and number 22 in rushing touchdowns per game. As we can see, they didn't run the ball last season how they wanted to, but they were actually one of the best teams in yards per carry, and next season expect these surrounding numbers to go up with another season of Kenneth Walker getting adjusted to the system in the NFL play style. Now, their passing attack ranked number 1 in completion percentage, showing you Geno Smith can be great. Number 8 in pass yards per attempt, number 15 in pass attempts per game, number 12 in passing yards per game, number 12 in interception percentage, and number 23 in sacks allowed per game, or sack percentage. Now, looking at these numbers, it shows me that overall, this offense has a ton of potential to grow, and the upside of Geno Smith could be truly incredible with this offense going forward. Now, let me know in the comment section down below, where do you stand with Geno Smith? Do you think he can have a future here in Seattle, or would you like them to go out and try to replace him sooner rather than later? Let me know. I'm actually very curious to see what you guys think as Seahawks fans. Now, starting free agency, minimal work needed to be done to improve this offense, as they were actually already pretty good, just needed some development. But overall, there was one area of the team where they needed to improve on, and that was the center position. Now, firstly, or the only thing they have done offensively, is pretty much secure up the center position. They brought in offensive lineman Evan Brown, formerly of the Detroit Lions, and like I said, their biggest hole coming into the offseason was at the center position, and Evan Brown is an immediate upgrade, a day one starter for 2023. Now, Evan Brown is a 26-year-old, guard slash center. He entered the league as an undrafted free agent back in 2018. Then in 2020, he became a full-time starter for the Detroit Lions, who have been known for having a great offensive line over the past few years. Another great thing about Evan Brown is, like I said, he is so versatile. He can play guard, he can play center, but most likely he'll be a full-time starting center for the Seahawks going into next season. Now, personally, when I look at this offense, I see a ton of potential. As long as some of these guys can start building chemistry with each other, this is going to be an incredible 2023 season. If this offense can really come together, the offensive line more in particular can come together as a unit, dude, they're going to be scary, and they have a nice variety of skill players with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Kenneth Walker, and Noah Fant. However, they do need to go out there and smash the rest of free agency and the draft in particularly. We'll talk about that a little later on the video, what they need to do next. But make sure you guys, stay tuned for that, which will be in a couple of minutes from now. So stay tuned. But before we jump into the defensive side of the ball, make sure you guys smash that like button if you're enjoying the video so far. I will be covering the entire NFL offseason, which includes the rest of free agency, the draft, and any trades that happen. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. I will be keeping you guys updated for everything. But let's get into the defense. Now, defensively, the Seahawks were actually very underwhelming last year, as well as, we knew coming to the offseason they were going to need to drastically change things going into 2023. Now, we knew from day one Seattle would have to fill a lot of holes. Now, the great news is they actually made a ton of signings that will overall change the whole culture of this defense and, again, just make them a way better football team compared to last season. Now, last year they ranked number 25 in points allowed per game, number 28 in yards allowed per game, number 27 in third down conversion percentage allowed, number 23 in red zone scoring percentage allowed, and number 26 in touchdowns allowed per game. Overall, this defense was terrible, and they needed to find a way to get better in almost a lot of categories. But again, let's take a deeper look to see where these problems stemmed from. Now, the Seahawks run defense ranked number 26 in rush yards allowed per attempt, number 30 in rush yards allowed per game, and number 27 in rushing touchdowns allowed per game. Compared to their pass defense, which was slightly better, ranking number 11 in completion percentage allowed, number 22 in passing yards allowed per attempt, number 17 in passing yards allowed per game, and number 13 in interception percentage, as well as number 10 in sack percentage as well. Now, this is where things get a little bit interesting. As we can tell, this defense needed to shore up a lot of areas, but more importantly, in this front seven, they needed to get better to be able to stop the run. Now, like I said, this is where things get interesting. They actually added a ton of playmakers, a ton of guys who can come in here and just make this team better. Now, firstly, let's talk about Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner is finally back where he belongs and will most likely end his career with the Seahawks. And he has also, stated that he is looking to play more than just one season. So expect him to come over here and, be here for the next couple of years and retire in Seattle. And he's the type of guy who will come back here and completely reset that culture and, change or set the tempo going forward. If you guys are as excited as I am about Bobby Wagner coming back to Seattle, smash that like button real quick. Let's see how many of you guys are ready to see what this Bobby Wagner-led defense is going to bring in 2023. Overall, there isn't too much to say about Bobby Wagner. He's still such an amazing player and will instantly make this team better next season with his presence alone. In 2022, Bobby still had a dominant season with the Rams, putting up 140 tackles, 81 solo, a career high, 6 sacks, and 2 interceptions as well. And from there, they added another linebacker and former Steeler Devin Bush. And suddenly, the Seahawks have a stacked linebacker core in the interior with Bobby Wagner, Devin Bush, and Jordan Brooks. Overall, Devin's 4-year career with the Steelers, he was a very solid player. Playing in 52 games, he tallied up 286 tackles for an 173 total, 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 interceptions, as well as 18 run stuffs. The Seahawks didn't stop there either. Their next signing might be one of their most needed but biggest splash signings of all of the offseason. And we knew they needed to shore up the front seven, that defensive line, and they did exactly that by adding former Broncos defensive end Draymond Jones. Now, dude, this is an absolute incredible signing because Draymond Jones is a force to be reckoned with and will be vital for this defense going forward next season. I don't think a lot of people really understand how much he can make an impact on this team next year. Over his 4-year career, he has been very consistent, tallying up 133 tackles, 76 solo, 22 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 17 stuffs. A young and up-and-coming defender who could potentially break out next year. And again, they decided adding just Draymond Jones wasn't enough, and they brought in former Seahawks defensive tackle Jaron Reed. Now, like I said, Jarran Reed actually played his first 5 years in Seattle before leaving to play for the Chiefs and the Packers over the last 2 seasons. But over his 7-year career, he's brought in 289 tackles, 152 solo, 27 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, and 22 run stuffs as well. Now, listen, he is also looked to be a day one starter alongside Draymond Jones, Darrell Taylor, and Brian Moan at nose tackle. But over this front seven, you look at it, and there is a ton of potential, a ton of upside, depth, and just talent at the position. This run defense should take a huge step in 2023, and I wouldn't be surprised if they, go from being one of the worst to a top half of the league run defense next season. The Seahawks also came out and got better in the secondary as well, adding former Giants safety Julian Love. And the thing I love about this addition is he is so versatile as well. He can play multiple different positions at safety, corner, nickel. He can play a ton and just be an overall big impact player alongside this secondary. Most likely, he's going to be a nickel corner just because the Seahawks have a ton of, safety talent already with Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs. They've been amazing over the last couple years, so expect Julian Love to come in here and maybe compete for a slot or a nickel role. Over his 4-year career, he's put up 291 tackles, 192 solo, 1.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 5 interceptions, and 18 pass deflections. Overall, this defense is looking stacked, man. I mean, you got Draymond Jones, you got Jarran Reed, Darrell Taylor, Jordan Brooks, Bobby Wagner, Uchenna Nwosu, you got Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, Tariq Woolen, Kobe Bryant, Julian Love, Mike Jackson, Trey Brown. I mean, everywhere you look, this team is stacked with potential, but there is definitely some areas that they need to solidify going forward. Now, the main positions of need are definitely running back. You got Kenneth Walker, DJ Dallas, Darwin Thompson, but after that, I feel like they need a little bit more depth. Just somebody you can get in the 5th, 6th, 7th round of this draft, or maybe even as a undrafted free agent, they can get somebody. And at wide receiver as well, you got DK Metcalf, you got Tyler Lockett, you got Dwayne Eskridge, who, listen, Dwayne Eskridge needs to develop, man. He was a former 2nd round pick back in 2021. This needs to be the year he finally takes a step up. Other than that, you got Derek Young, you got Issa Winston, Cade Johnson, Cody Thompson. They need more wide receiver depth because after DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, there's nobody that's really solidified themselves as being a reliable option. So they definitely need to go out, add a wide receiver. Depth at corner is definitely needed as well. You got Mike Jackson, you got Tariq Woolen, Kobe Bryant, Trey Brown, but after that, there's not much there. You got Julian Love. Maybe Isaiah Dunn could be decent, but other than that, they definitely need some more cornerback depth. Nose tackle is going to be a huge thing they can upgrade in this draft. I think they might go early and maybe target either a nose tackle or maybe even a corner. We'll see what they end up doing, but Brian Moan is a guy who needs to either step up or, just, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do at nose tackle. Let me know in the comment section down below how you feel about Brian Moan or Mon, however you say his name. But he could be called upon to have a big, reliable role next year. So we'll see if they, upgrade that in the offseason. Also, you need a backup strong safety behind Jamal Adams. So they'll probably do that as well. And then maybe even a quarterback a late round quarterback. You got Geno, you got Drew Lock. But I wouldn't be surprised if they went out and, drafted a 5th, 6th, 7th round quarterback as well, just to bring in some competition. But with that being said, no matter what, they will need to bring in a quarterback, whether that's free agency or the draft. They're going to have to bring in someone just to bring in 3 to compete in the offseason. But overall, I love the direction this team is headed in. I think they have a ton of potential with Geno Smith. I personally think that he has the potential to be a very solid quarterback going into the future. Now, let me know, like I said earlier, let me know what you guys think about him. Do you guys think he has that potential? But let me know also, who do you guys want the Seattle Seahawks to draft coming up here in just a few weeks? And let me know also, who do you think will break out for the Seahawks in 2023? Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, join the family, and I will be seeing you guys in the next video. And potentially, I might be making a Seattle Seahawks draft video coming up here in the next few days. So subscribe if you want to see that, and I'll see you guys very, very soon.